You got it?
Yeah.
Father in heaven, we thank you so much for the opportunity to be able to come together. Even though we can't meet in a building, we can meet this way, and we're very happy that we can do that. We thank you for Sister Marcelle. We just ask that you bless her as she minister and as she share this wealth of knowledge that we may receive. And we thank you for Victor, Dane, and everyone that's on tonight and those that are coming on. So we just ask you to bless us. In Jesus' name we ask and pray. I just have one
Amen.
announcement for Sister Richardson, Marcelle Richardson, get started. I just want to announce that every coming up in February, hopefully we'll start on the second Tuesday in the month of February and the fourth Tuesday in the month of February with Touch of Health, a walk in the sanctuary with Pastor Lewis, well, former Pastor Lewis Turner. And I just want to tell you the sanctuary is a very important message and teaching that we're going to be getting. We need that. So I just give you an announcement now to look forward to Touch of Health, a walk in the sanctuary by Lewis Turner. And it'll start at 6 p.m. every second and fourth Tuesday. So we'll be making some more announcements and we're looking forward to all of you all still participating in that. So at this time, uh, are you ready, Sister Marcel?
Yes, I am.
Okay, we're gonna turn it over to you and let you introduce yourself. You know more about yourself than we do. So go ahead and
Oh,
What's the matter
introduce
with this
yourself.
thing? What is it? Oh,
sorry.
I had the picture, but it's gone now.
Okay, good evening, everyone.
Yes, sir.
So thankful for the opportunity to be able to serve. I'm Marcel Thomas Richardson. I I hold an MPH, a Master of Public Health degree in Nutrition and Wellness. I love health. I believe that it's it's our duty to God to take care of the bodies He has given us. So I
That's right.
love to share on health as
Thank
well.
you.
So yes, I'm happy to be here, and I'm happy for all those who could have joined us this evening.
Welcome, Marcel. We're happy that
Oh,
you're here.
thank you so much.
Yeah.
Okay, do I go ahead?
Yes,
Go
go
right
right ahead,
ahead.
Marcel. And
All right.
thank you.
Okay, well, please allow me also to wish you all a happy, healthy, and safe new year. I thought I'd add healthy and safe because of all that's taking place in our world today. So, happy new year to a happy, healthy new year to all of us. I'd like to start by asking us three quick questions. The first is, what if you could know your risk for a stroke? And I want to stress the word risk. What if you could know your risk for a stroke, heart disease, diabetes, kidney disease, and you could do something to prevent it? Would you?
Yeah.
Okay. The next question is, what if you could do something right now to improve the quality of your life for years to come, to ensure that you are present and available in a significantly healthy way for yourself, for your family, your husband, your wife, your children, grandchildren, friends? What if you could do something right now to improve the quality of your life and in a very significant way? Would you do that?
Mm.
And then, thirdly, this question is important because it has great implications for our health. And I want to show you, can you see what I have in my hand here? It's a tape measure. Yes. Why am I showing you a tape measure? Because it relates to our next question, our third question, which is, do you know your waist measurement?
Mm.
All right, so we're gonna get back to that question because it's gonna be very important to our presentation tonight, this evening. Okay, I'll go ahead and share my screen, but I'm seeing here that the host has disabled participants screen sharing. So can I be allowed to share my screen?
Yeah, he'll take care of that for you, Marcel.
Okay.
Hey, Tom, this is Catherine. Somehow, excuse me, guys, I have been made a co-host, so I've been letting people in. Maybe I don't need to be the co-host.
But it's good that you're letting people in. So thank you, Catherine.
You're
You can just
welcome.
you can just change your name from you have the opportunity to change your name to Catherine. Where
Well,
I'm
I entered in through the church's
That's fine. That's fine.
login.
That's not a problem. That's not a problem. If you want to change your name, you can, or you can leave it as it is. But thanks for
Yeah.
letting people in.
Okay.
Okay, yes, and Sandranita, you are the host, so you're gonna have to.
Oh, I'm
correct.
sorry. So let me fix that.
Well,
Just a
that's all right.
second,
Just let
Marcel. Just
make Marcella co-host.
absolutely.
Thank you, guys.
Yes. Okay. Okay, Marcel. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Let's go. All right, so let's go. All right, so this evening we'll be having our discussion on metabolic syndrome, most commonly referred to as the METS. Now, some other names you'll hear for metabolic syndrome are dysmetabolic syndrome, insulin resistance syndrome, obesity syndrome, or syndrome X. So those are some other names for metabolic syndrome. Now, for some perspectives on metabolic syndrome. Now, it says that metabolic syndrome affects 47 million people in the United States. That's according to the NIH. Approximately 47 million people in the United States are affected by metabolic syndrome. Now, if we go by that number, that means that in the US, 1 in every 6 persons has metabolic syndrome. Now, the Mayo Clinic has recently issued some data which says that as much as 1 in 3 persons has metabolic syndrome. So if we look at our platform this evening, how many persons do we have on our platform? I think the last number I saw was 12.
Right.
That means, yes, maybe 2 persons here on this platform has metabolic syndrome. And if we go by what the Mayo Clinic says, that means that what? 4 persons has metabolic syndrome. So it's pretty astounding. Now, according to the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention, the CDC, they have indicated that approximately 50% of the American public is suffering from heart disease. That's pretty astounding. That's 1 in every 2 persons. Now, the question is, what does heart disease have to do with metabolic syndrome? Everything we'll discover. Now, what is metabolic syndrome? Now, when we hear the word metabolic, what we're referring to are those biochemical processes that take place in our body during its normal functioning. For example, the way our cells uptake glucose, which is a sugar, so that we can have energy. That's a biochemical process. So that's a metabolic process. When we hear the word syndrome, we are thinking of a set of medical signs and symptoms that occur together and is associated with a particular disease. So when we speak about a syndrome, we're speaking about more than one sign or more than one symptom. So it's a cluster. So when we talk about metabolic syndrome, we're referring to a cluster of symptoms which indicate that a person is at risk. And I want us to pay attention again to the word risk. It indicates that a person is at risk for developing metabolic diseases. Now, metabolic diseases include cardiovascular diseases. Cardio, which means heart, vascular, which means blood vessels, like our veins and our arteries. So when we say cardiovascular diseases, we're referring to those diseases that affect our heart and our blood vessels. So metabolic diseases include those diseases that affect our heart and our blood vessels. And some of those include atherosclerosis, which is the hardening of the walls, the hardening and narrowing of the walls of our arteries. Another cardiovascular disease will be coronary heart disease. Then we have hypertension, or we say normally what? High
blood pressure.
High blood pressure, exactly. Very good. Stroke and diabetes, but here we're talking about type 2 diabetes. So metabolic diseases include all of the diseases that are listed here: atherosclerosis, coronary heart disease, hypertension, stroke, and diabetes. But we want to mention it refers to type 2 diabetes, that is diabetes that occurs in adulthood. Now, diabetes that occurs in adulthood is referred to as type 2. You may also hear about type 1 diabetes, but that's the diabetes that occurs in childhood. But metabolic diseases include type 2 diabetes, which occurs in adults. So for a definition of metabolic syndrome, what would we say it is? We would say that metabolic syndrome, therefore, is a group of symptoms. Remember, syndrome is a group or a cluster of signs and symptoms. So metabolic syndrome, therefore, is a group of symptoms which, when put together, indicates that an individual is at risk. All right, so metabolic syndrome tells us of our risk for developing cardiovascular diseases, diseases of the heart and the blood vessels, and type 2 diabetes. Now, contributory causes of metabolic syndrome. We have overweight and obesity, a fatty liver, which means that there are excess or too much triglycerides, which are a type of fat, and other fats in our liver. So a fatty liver is a contributory cause for metabolic syndrome. Another contributory cause is polycystic ovarian syndrome. And of course, this more or less affects women. And polycystic ovarian syndrome contributes to overweight and obesity because it causes imbalances with our hormones, estrogen, and that can cause the onset of weight gain. So that's another contributory cause of metabolic syndrome. Another is gallstones. Interesting, breathing problems at night during sleep. Sleep apnea can cause metabolic syndrome, and also insulin resistance. Other risk factors for metabolic syndrome is having a family history of diabetes and hypertension. We say diabetes, or some people say you have sugar or hypertension, high blood pressure. So if you can trace in your parents, grandparents, or other family members who have diabetes or hypertension, you're at risk for developing metabolic syndrome. Having an inactive or sedentary lifestyle puts you at risk for metabolic syndrome. Now you notice I put two words here in red, inactive and sedentary. Why? Because I want them to jump out at you. I want them to jump out at you. Those are two very, very important words. Now, inactivity is very hurtful to us. Why? Because if you look at the way the human body is built, the human body is built for movement. We look at our joints, our muscles, the tendons. We were made to move. And so inactivity predisposes us to many disease states. And so it cannot be stressed enough that inactivity or being sedentary is very harmful to our health. And in this case, it predisposes us or it increases our risk for metabolic syndrome. Another risk factor that we want to look at is one's race and ethnicity, genetics. We see genetics playing a role in the first risk factor, family history, and here we see it again. So one's race or ethnicity puts us at increased risk. For example, Hispanics and African Americans have higher rates of metabolic syndrome. And our genetics can also increase our risk for insulin resistance, which can lead to metabolic syndrome. So our race, our ethnicity also is a risk factor. Another risk factor we want to look at is age. And we're seeing here that our risk increases with age. So the older we get, greater the chances of us having metabolic syndrome. And finally, having a history of cardiovascular disease. So if you have any diseases of the heart, of the blood vessels, you're at risk for metabolic syndrome. Now, how do we know that we have metabolic syndrome? Now, I'm going to share 5 symptoms with you, and a diagnosis for metabolic syndrome is made when someone has any 3 of the following 5 symptoms. Okay? All right. Now, back to our tape measure. Remember, I showed you the tape measure earlier? All right, so back to the tape measure. Now, we're talking here about waist circumference. Waist circumference. Now, waist circumference has very, very significant implications for health status, as it can indicate potential disease. So that's why I asked, do you know your waist measurement? It's very important because it can give us an indication of where we are in terms of our health. Our waist circumference has bearing for obesity, disease, high blood pressure, and type 2 diabetes. So our waist measure is very important. So what are we saying? That how do we know that we have metabolic syndrome? One symptom is a waist circumference of 40 inches or larger for men. So this is one symptom. If your waist measure as a male, and here we're talking about an adult male, is greater than 40 inches, that's something we need to watch because it's one of the symptoms of metabolic syndrome. Or for women, can you see how much it says? How much does it say for women? 30,
35.
35. Yes,
35.
thank you. Yes. So let's actually I had to go check my waist measurement. I knew it before a few months, but I said the holidays were here. I need to go check my waist measure. So it's important because it can be an indication of our health status. And when we say 35 inches for women, of course, we're speaking of non-pregnant women, all right? And the 40 inches is for adult males. Okay. How do we know we have metabolic syndrome? We said we need to know, an individual needs to have any three of these symptoms. The first one is know your waist measure. The second one, we have an indication of what it is. Blood pressure, blood pressure. And so we're seeing here that a blood pressure reading higher than 120/80 is an indication, all right, that you can be experiencing high blood pressure or hypertension, as we would say, which can be an indication, which is one of the symptoms of metabolic syndrome. And we should have our blood pressure checked every 3 to 6 months, okay? So we've looked at 2 symptoms so far that can indicate we have metabolic syndrome. The first one is our waist circumference. The second one is our blood pressure. How do we know we have metabolic syndrome? Here, this is an indication of what? A glucose test. Glucose, we know, is the sugar that's present in our blood. Now, generally, for a glucose test, a fasting glucose test is done called a fasting plasma glucose test. Okay, now what numbers are looked at? Now, you usually take 2 of these fasting glucose tests because fasting will give an indication of how the body is using glucose. Remember I said glucose is the sugar that's found in the blood, and glucose is what gives us energy, okay? So if you have 2 fasting glucose readings of 110 milligrams per DL or higher, this is another symptom of metabolic syndrome. So we need to know our numbers for glucose, okay? And if we have greater than 110 milligrams, it means that our blood, the amount of sugar in our blood is a little too high. All right, so this is the third symptom. We said we're gonna look at 5. So the first we looked at was our waist circumference. How do we know we have metabolic syndrome? The waist circumference can be indication. Our blood pressure can be an indication. Our glucose reading can be an indication. So that's 3. The fourth one is, as you see there, cholesterol, or a cholesterol test. Now, cholesterol is one of the lipids or fats. Lipids, it's just a scientific term. Lipid is another term for fat. Now, cholesterol is a type of fat that's found in our blood, okay? Now, a cholesterol test can be an indication of one of the symptoms for metabolic syndrome. Now here we see having an HDL. HDL means high density lipoprotein cholesterol of less than 40 milligrams per DL for men and 50 milligrams per DL for women is an indication that this is one of the symptoms and that you can be suffering from metabolic syndrome. Now, HDL, high density lipoprotein, we said cholesterol is a type of fat. Now, HDL is considered good cholesterol. We want to have high HDL. We want to have a fairly reasonable, of course, but a higher reading of high density lipoprotein. We want that reading to be high. It needs, if it drops less than 40, that means that we don't have enough of this good cholesterol. Okay? And that's bad. We need to have greater than 40 milligrams per DL cholesterol within our blood. Now, why is HDL cholesterol so good for us? Because it helps to remove other forms of cholesterol from our bloodstream and lowers our risk of heart disease. So we don't want a low reading of high density lipoprotein. We want a higher reading, greater than 40 for men and greater than 50 for women. Anything less than 40 for men is not good. Anything less than 50 for women is not good. And then the final symptom that can indicate that we have metabolic syndrome and that we're at high risk for diabetes, hypertension, strokes, and diabetes is a triglyceride test. Now, triglycerides are also lipids, or another word for lipids is fats that is found in the blood. Now, before I go on to triglycerides, just let me mention that we want our HDL or high density lipoprotein cholesterol to be high. And you must have heard of LDL or low density lipoprotein. Okay, we want that to be low. All right, but here the HDL cholesterol test is what's done. Now for triglycerides. Now triglycerides are another type of fat that are found within our bloodstream. Now triglycerides are important because they store unused calories and provide the body with energy. Fat gives us energy. Now, having a triglyceride reading equal to or greater than 150 milligrams per deciliter is not good. Okay, now we don't want our triglycerides to be greater than 150 mg. Okay, because that would mean that there's too much triglycerides within our bloodstream, and so having too much triglycerides can lead to the hardening of the arteries and the thickening, it's fat, of the walls of the arteries, leading to atherosclerosis, which can lead to stroke and insulin resistance and heart disease and all of these things. All right, good. So how do we know we have metabolic syndrome? We said if we have any 3 of the 5 symptoms that were mentioned. What are the 5 symptoms that were mentioned? We looked at what? Waist measurement. The second was what? Blood pressure. Third?
Cholesterol.
Okay, cholesterol. Then glucose or blood sugar.
That's right.
And then our triglycerides. Now, here I want to ask a question. Do you know your numbers for these tests?
No.
Do you know your numbers? All
No.
right. So it would be very important, and I would like to encourage us to know our numbers, because if we have any 3 of these symptoms that were mentioned, we would be diagnosed with having metabolic syndrome. Okay, so any three of those mentioned indicates that we have metabolic syndrome. So it could be high blood pressure, high blood sugar, and a large waist circumference. Or it could be high triglycerides, high blood sugar, high blood pressure. That means that we have metabolic syndrome. Now, we looked at the risk factors for metabolic syndrome, but we want to just refresh our minds because some of those risk factors can be changed or they can be modified, which is good news for us. Now, what are some of the factors or for metabolic syndrome that we can change to help prevent or reduce or reverse metabolic syndrome? Okay, now, can we change our waist circumference?
Yes.
Yes, we
Yes.
can. That's good news. So we can reduce our risk there by just changing our waist circumference. We can reduce our risk. That's good news. What about our blood pressure? Can we modify our blood pressure?
Yes.
Yes.
Yes, we can. So that's another bit of good news. Blood glucose levels, can we change that?
Yes.
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 Yes, indeed. So we're getting some good news. What about HDL or LDL cholesterol? Can we change our cholesterol levels?
Yes.
Yes.
Yes. Triglycerides. Can we change those?
Yes.
You see how many factors, how many risk factors for metabolic syndrome we can change, that we have the power to change. So there is lots of good news concerning metabolic syndrome in terms of preventing, reducing our risk for these diseases, or reversing the disease altogether. I would want to jump up and shout because metabolic syndrome is what? Preventable and
And treatable.
Treatable.
isn't that good news?
Yes, it
Yeah.
is.
It is. That means that we can do something to lower our risk for stroke, for hypertension, for diabetes, for kidney disease. We can do something about it. And I think that that's the greatest news. Now, what I want us to also realize is that metabolic syndrome is not a clinical disorder. Remember, I kept stressing the word risk. Metabolic syndrome is not a clinical disorder. It is an indication of our risk for developing those diseases, cardiovascular diseases. Okay? And so, what I want us to take away tonight is that though, if left untreated, so many things can go wrong. If we don't look at our numbers, do something to change our numbers, blood pressure, blood sugar, waist circumference. There are many things that can go wrong if we choose to do nothing. But the good news is that it's preventable and it's treatable. All right. Now, I just want to mention this about women. I know there are women on the chat, and metabolic syndrome has an affinity for women. But that doesn't say that the men are left out, because you men, what will you do without us women? Okay. So this pertains to the men as well. Okay. We are your wives and mothers and daughters and or nieces that you love. So although it says metabolic syndrome and women, men, I want you to pay attention, because you can be of such great help to the female folk in your lives. Now, it says that research shows that women are at higher risk for metabolic syndrome than men. And one caveat, we know this is something that women struggle with so much, maybe a little more than men, is waist circumference. All right. And we want to stress that waist circumference or waist measure is strongly, you notice I underlined the word strongly, is strongly related to an increased risk for metabolic syndrome. So women, if you do nothing else this evening, please check your waist measure. All right, if it's over 35 inches, we need to start doing something. All right, because we can do something to reduce our risks, to improve the quality of our lives. Okay, women and metabolic syndrome. Now, experts agree that women who store fat in their abdomen, waist circumference we're referring to again, are at higher risk for developing metabolic syndrome than women who store fat in their hips. All right. So one reason to say hallelujah if we store fat in our hips, it's better to store fat in hips, women, than to store fat in the abdomen. I know genetically we may not have any control over that, but it would be a plus, you know, if women store fat in their hips rather than in their abdomen. Okay, for one's bigger hips, maybe rather than a larger tummy. Okay, it's preferable. Now, if we heard this presentation tonight and we said, oh, it's just another presentation, we ignore the information, we don't go get our tests, we don't know our numbers, we just ignore everything that's presented tonight, what can be the result? So if metabolic syndrome is ignored, if we don't know our blood pressure, our diabetes, glucose levels, our waist circumference, our cholesterol levels, triglyceride levels, we may just have metabolic syndrome and do nothing. And if we do nothing, what can result? We can end up suffering from what? High blood pressure. And high blood pressure is called the silent killer. Why? Because we can have high blood pressure and not even know it. Okay? And we know high blood pressure can lead to what? Strokes, and strokes can be very devastating to us. So if we choose to do nothing about metabolic syndrome, these are the things that can result: loss of mobility. We may end up with a stroke, lose the use of one side of our bodies, our hands, our legs. We may be confined to a wheelchair. We may become dependent on relatives to take care of us. If nothing is done with the information we learned tonight, we can develop kidney disease and have to be on dialysis, you know. So we need to take this seriously, or we can end up with congestive heart failure. If we do nothing with this information, we can end up with respiratory failure. It really breaks my heart to see people walking around with these oxygen tanks. And I'm saying, my, what a burden it can add to life, you know. So we can do something to prevent that. We can end up with diabetes, which can lead to loss of limbs, blindness. People can go blind from having diabetes. If we have metabolic syndrome, we do nothing about it, we develop diabetes, we can end up losing our sight. Cancer can result, and ultimately death. Now, if we have a diagnosis of metabolic syndrome, what do we do? First of all, we need to know that a clinician makes a diagnosis of metabolic syndrome. So you go to the doctor, and through physical exams and blood tests, blood tests, a diagnosis of metabolic syndrome is made. Now, metabolic syndrome can be treated with pharmaceuticals or drugs and lifestyle intervention. But I want to stress tonight that dietary and lifestyle modifications are the most common treatments for metabolic syndrome. Remember, we said that it's preventable and treatable, and we can do that without drugs. All right? And we'll see. Now, pharmaceuticals or drugs are only prescribed in acute cases or severe cases, but we want to focus on dietary and lifestyle interventions. Now, if we have a diagnosis of the meds, please let's follow medical advice as prescribed. Okay, if medications are prescribed, let's be compliant. It's for our benefits, for the benefit of family or friends, our livelihood. So let's follow medical advice if we're diagnosed with metabolic syndrome. Let's make smart dietary choices, and let's engage in appropriate physical activity and exercise. Now, when it comes to making smart dietary choices, I know that can be tricky because appetite is something that so many of us struggle with. Appetite can be a real struggle, but there are things we can do to um to help us make those smart dietary choices. I've learned that it's more a matter of skill than will when it comes to making smart dietary choices or lifestyle intervention. Engaging in appropriate physical activity and exercise. I know many of us also struggle too with having and maintaining an ongoing exercise program. But if we're going to lower risk for stroke and hypertension and diabetes, and if we're going to prevent and reverse metabolic syndrome, we have to make those changes, those lifestyle changes. What are the dietary choices that we need to make? Now, we need to consume a diet abundant in vegetables and fruits and whole grains. Now, as I was doing this presentation, something came to me. I said, you know, when you think about it, fruits and vegetables are the most colorful part of our diet, isn't that so?
Yeah.
And I was thinking, why did God take the time to make them so colorful? Is it because he wanted to make them more attractive to us? You know, did God look down the line and see that we would have a problem with our fruits and vegetables? That's why he tried to make them so attractive, so beautiful, all of those rich, vibrant colors. When I think of fruits, fruits are just so naturally sweet. You know, we really wouldn't really ideally need to add sugar to so many things if we use fruits. Fruits are naturally sweet, you know. So these are the two areas in terms of our diet which we struggle a lot with: fruits, vegetables, and whole grains. Well, when we say whole grains, we're talking about things like whole brown rice or whole wheat pasta, our peas, our beans, and our legumes. Now, that's making smart dietary choices. And so we need to increase our consumption of vegetables, fruits, and whole grains. Sometimes the whole wheat pasta can be a little, you know, but using it after a while, you will acquire a taste, and that's the best for us, you know. So whole grains. Now, this is a very important point that I want to make, and it relates to a vegetarian diet. And research indicates that a vegetarian diet is best for treating and preventing hypertension, obesity, heart disease, diabetes, hyperlipidemia, cholesterol and triglycerides, lipids, too much fats, a vegetarian diet does it. We know that that was the original diet that was given to us as human beings, and it was given to us by God. Can we come up with anything better than what God has given to us?
No.
And so science just
Oh,
confirms what the word of God says, you know. So in terms of treating and preventing metabolic syndrome, a vegetarian diet is best. So we're talking about making those smart dietary choices. Okay, we're coming down to the end. Now we spoke about physical activity and exercise, and research has shown that metabolic syndrome drops or risk for metabolic syndrome drops dramatically with moderate fitness levels, just moderate fitness levels. And so what is the recommendation? The recommendation is that we engage in at least 120 minutes of moderate intensity exercise each week. That means 2 hours per week, moderate. We're not saying you have to get intense, just moderate exercise. For example, what can we do? We can go brisk walking, 30 minutes a day, 4 days a week, or 40 minutes a day, 3 days a week. Ideally, it's good if we can get it up to 150 minutes of exercise each week. But if not, 120 minutes, 2 hours of exercise each week can do so much in helping to reduce the risk of metabolic syndrome. What other forms of exercise we can engage in? Gardening. Gardening. I know for us, during the winter we can't garden, but when we get the opportunity, let's make use of it. You know, as I was doing the presentation also, I thought of Adam and Eve. Where did God place the first two people that he made? In a garden. Why? God told them to keep that garden. They weren't just sitting down under a tree enjoying the cool breezes of the day. They had to keep that garden. They were what? On the move. Just like God made their bodies to move, he put them in the garden. They had to take care of that garden. They had to move. So even gardening helps. This year, my husband and I, we planted a garden. And oh my, I learned something about myself. I don't know if it was because of the COVID and we were so restricted, but I really, really enjoyed my garden this year. I think that's one of the best summers I had. And it was because I took care of our garden. My husband is the planter. I usually do the watering and he does most of the reaping. I do some of the reaping as well. But you know, for my garden this year, I told myself, you know, I'm not gonna use a garden hose. And we planted flowers and vegetables. So I said, no, 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 no garden hose. I'm going to use this for my exercise. So I got two small water cans and I used that to water the plants. And that became part of my exercise because those cans were so small and there were so many plants to water, the flowers and the vegetables, that I had to be back and forth. And I made sure, you know, I had the smaller of the cans, so I would place one under the pipe to full, and then I would go water. And by the time I got back, that one was filled and I picked it up. And so I tried to do brisk walking as I, you know, so, you know, we can make exercise a part of our daily routine and make it enjoyable. We say we need to keep moving. Physical activity and exercise we want to encourage. If you're into ballroom dancing, if you like water aerobics, if you want to do some bicycling, we said it's just at a moderate level. And also you can do some tennis. But what we say, what we want to encourage is that you keep moving, physical activity. So important for lowering the risk of metabolic syndrome. All right, now just a few pointers. Before we start exercising, we should consult a doctor if we have a history of cardiovascular disease. If you're a male above 45 who has been leading a sedentary or inactive lifestyle, please don't go exercise just like that. Consult your doctor before you do that. If you're a female and you're older than 55 and you haven't been exercising, you've been having an inactive or sedentary lifestyle, please don't just go start exercising. Consult a doctor before you do that. And for beginners, those who are now entering the realm of exercise, warm ups and cool downs are important, and they should last at least between 5 to 10 minutes. Okay, so don't just start exercising just like that. Just wanted to get that in there for you. Now, I have some words of encouragement as we bring this presentation to a close. And I just want to give you a minute or two to read it, and then we're going to just highlight a few things and we're going to close. So these are my words of encouragement to us as we close. Can you just take a minute or two and read it?
Mhm.
All right. Now, like me, you may have some struggles in terms of lifestyle choices, healthy lifestyle choices. I have been having some struggles, especially with an exercise program and even in the area of making healthy dietary choices. And so, what are we encouraged to do? We are encouraged, even in those battles with our health, in terms of making wiser, healthier choices concerning our diet. In terms of starting and maintaining an exercise program, we are encouraged to make it a matter of what? Prayer. Why should we? Because God is interested. He is interested in our health. Our health is important to Him and He wants to help us. So, yes, we may pray about a child who has gone astray and members who we don't see at church. We may pray about those things, but why not ask God to change your taste buds if you like the wrong types of food? Why not ask God to help you to like more vegetables or more fruits, or ask Him to give you the motivation to start an exercise program and to have the discipline to maintain an exercise program. One of the things we battle with as human beings is appetite. Appetite is one of the things that we really, really struggle with as human beings. Many of us consume too little vegetables, too little fruits, but we use too much sugar in our diet, too much fat, too much salt or sodium, you know. And we like the taste of those foods, and we find sometimes the healthier choices maybe aren't as exciting, we think, and so we struggle with appetite, and many of us, we know we eat some of the things we shouldn't. Some of us may be diabetic and we know we shouldn't eat so much sweets, but appetite. Or we want to start an exercise program and we're struggling with, like I've done, you know. But we're encouraged that there is hope for us. God is there to help us, and we can make it a matter of prayer. And as we pray about it, our conclusion, we can have the experience of Romans 8:37, which says that in all these things, We are more than
Conquerors.
conquerors. Okay, so God wants to help us. And those areas where we're struggling, let us ask for His help. All right, as we conclude tonight, I just want us to remember that metabolic syndrome is a preventable and treatable condition. There are things that we can do to prevent, treat, even reverse. Okay? I'm encouraging us to know our numbers and risk factors. Okay? Um, Waist measurement, blood pressure, blood glucose levels, our cholesterol levels, our triglycerides. And when we do, we can know our risk and we can do something to prevent those catastrophic life events like a stroke or blindness or congestive heart failure. We can do something about it to prevent it and make those wise choices today in terms of diet, in terms of exercise. We can do it by the grace of God. And as I say thank you for taking the time to listen to me, I want to close with this proverb. It's a Tibetan proverb that I saw that I really came to call my own. I really like it. It says, eat half, walk double, laugh triple, and love beyond measure. And with that, I say thank you so much for listening.
Amen.
Amen.
Thank
Thank you,
you.
Marcelle.
Beautiful.
Thank you, thank you, thank you. And what we would like to do
Yes,
at this
thank you.
point is open up the forum for questions. If anyone has questions, I know there's one on chat. And I will read that to you, Marcel.
Okay.
And this is coming from, I think it was Ivan. So, how do we know where we stand when it comes to the 5 indicators of metabolic syndrome? Do we have to ask our doctors specifically for these measurements when we do a blood workup? Of course, we may do our own waist measurement, but what about the others?
Okay. As I mentioned, being diagnosed with metabolic syndrome is made by a clinician, and it's a request that you will have to make. Okay, so you will have to ask to be evaluated for metabolic syndrome, and then the clinician will do the physical exams and the blood test, and from there they make their recommendations. So you need to make a request.
I would like to add to that, especially for those of us that are 65 and over, and actually that have insurance. Most of that is all paid for, at least once a year. It is a preventable program, and they will do your complete biometrics once a year for no charge. Or it's actually charged to your insurance, but there's no charge to the rest of it.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, I had a question on what vegetarian foods do you think give you the most energy? I mean, in the morning when I have my steel cut oats, that really doesn't give me a lot of energy.
Okay, good. Well, you're on the right track. Steel cut oats are among the best, you can use, and it's good for regulating blood glucose and all of that. So in terms of energy, now we get energy from our carbohydrates, like our pasta, our rice, peas and beans. They also give us lots and lots of energy because they are high in carbohydrates. So if you steel cut oats are good, but then you may want to include some peas and beans with that. You may want to include also some whole grains in terms of like brown rice or whole wheat pasta. those would be ideal for energy and very good for regulating blood glucose because the whole grains wouldn't cause the spikes in your blood sugar and all of that. So,
Are there any other questions? Thank you, Marcel. Did that answer your question, Steve?
Pretty much, there should be other foods that could give you more energy. Like I have blueberries with my steel cutouts, but again, that's still not giving me much energy.
yes, your fruits will have some glucose as well. Yes. Maybe is it the amount? Are you having enough?
I don't know.
Yes, because those are really high energy foods, those foods, because they're carbohydrates, they break down to glucose. All carbohydrates break down to the sugar glucose, which gives us energy. Fats also give us some energy, like our triglycerides and so on. But we would want to make sure we get our fats from plant sources, and then we have to be careful with our fats as well. That we don't take too much because those can lead to atherosclerosis and all of that. But fats are also a good source of energy, but I wouldn't recommend that you use just fats. Avocados, that's a good source of fat as well, but basically you're on the right track, and your whole grains should be very good for you.
I saw Dane, did you have a question?
I do. You mentioned, Marcel,
Yeah.
a hormone imbalance could possibly lead to like a higher obesity level in women. Could that be the same for men as well, like higher low testosterone levels, or does that not equate as well? Or
Not as well. In this case, we are talking about women with polycystic ovarian syndrome, which in this case, there's the increased production of estrogen, and which leads to women having a little more fat around the tummy, and yeah, that predisposes them to higher risk of metabolic syndrome, which can lead to all these other complications. But mainly it's women.
okay.
I had a question, Marcel. It was going back into the genetic part of it. How much can we, if we have a family history of diabetes or cardiovascular disease, how much does can we mitigate that history or that genetics by what we eat and do?
Genetics, yes, does play a part, and we can't help our genetics. And when we look at the risk, those that are genetic, we can't do anything about, but the modifiable risk factors can play such a major role, because even in the treatment of metabolic syndrome, the major treatment for metabolic syndrome are dietary changes and lifestyle changes in terms of health. So you can reduce your risk significantly by your dietary changes and your lifestyle changes, getting your exercise in. So even if, say for example, my family has a history of hypertension, that predisposes me to hypertension, but I can do something to reduce my risk of having a stroke, of controlling my blood pressure by what I eat, and also by my healthy lifestyle choices in terms of exercise. So yes, we have genetics, but there are things that we can do to mitigate that risk.
So we don't need the pharmaceuticals then to reduce our blood pressure and these kind of things.
You know, there are some cases where lifestyle changes in terms of diet and activity may not lower our risk to the level that a clinician will be comfortable with. And so they will recommend pharmaceuticals in those acute cases. And in some cases, they may recommend pharmaceuticals until certain levels can be brought to control, under control, and then they allow you to maintain your dietary choices and your exercise program and so on. But in cases where you have those really high numbers, you know, from the start, you may need some pharmaceuticals to help you lower them.
Yeah, so what you're saying then is if you have high blood pressure and you're on pharmaceuticals and you change your lifestyle, be sure and follow and keep your physician informed.
Exactly. You can't just tell yourself, oh, I'm going to pray it away, or oh, I'm not going to take my medication today. You know, we need to follow our doctor's orders and, you know, be compliant. And with our dietary changes, and we can see real changes in our lives when we make those wise choices in terms of diet and activity and so
on. Any questions?
Well, I just want to say to everybody that's out there, one of the key things that I heard Marcelle say, and it's an important thing, getting in the garden. And we see with everything that's going on that the grocery stores may not be functional as much long as we think. So we need to put in practice getting in the garden. And we like to invite you, all of you, to come to, what's the address?
Oh, for the church?
Yeah.
4606.
Come to 4606.
Northeast 55th.
Northeast 55th. I should
in
know
Portland,
that.
Oregon.
In Portland, Oregon. And it's a garden back there so big. And we would love to have your hands in the garden just as much as Adam and Eve was in the garden. And you know that helped get rid of some stress. It helped you get some types of aerobic by bending. You know, it helps. It really helps. So I just want to encourage you all to get in touch with Touch of Help through Tom, myself, and let's get into the garden. And that's especially on Sundays. Is that right?
Yes.
Starting when?
I just wanted to add that Jan Bishop is on the line, and she is I believe she and Tom kind of head up that program, but it's absolutely true. They've got a garden that's a little less than an acre large, and provides food of wonderful food. I can attest to that. I am not a gardener, but I sure enjoy the fruits of their labor. And it absolutely is true. Marcelle, I can't thank you enough for.
Can I ask just one question before you leave?
Well, she's not leaving. I was just could I?
Oh, okay.
I just wanted to say thank you for making this. Somebody else already said it. Making this information so clear and so plain and so understandable. I had not even heard of this before. I was asking Tom, what is this? You know, and as I did some research, I learned, but just understanding that what syndrome means, you know, and just your explanation and your presentation was just absolutely delightful and educational and thought-provoking. I just want to tell you thank you for that. Wanted to get that in before these guys like to talk, so I wanted to get that in before I. So Jan had a question.
My question was, I've been drinking like a green juice in the morning, juicing it. And then, of course, eating more balanced stuff for dinner. So what about stuff like that as far as diet?
Well, a plant-based diet, is that what I'm hearing you saying? You're using more
Yeah,
food?
it is like fresh plants like kale, cabbage, green spinach, carrots, those kinds of things.
Mhm. So you're increasing your intake of vegetables. A balanced diet is what's recommended, you know. Generally, we don't sometimes struggle so much with other parts of our diet in terms of carbohydrates and proteins. If you eat meat, no. But generally, the struggle is vegetables. I think that's the major one. Fruits, and then our whole grains. So what you need is a balance, okay? And that's that can be another presentation in terms of what constitutes a balanced diet. But a balanced diet is what's recommended, and it sounds as though you're on the right track because you're what I'm hearing is that you're plant-based and you're focusing on your vegetables, which are very good. But then there are other components of our diet which we need to make sure we have. We need to make sure we have our proteins, um, our fats, and our carbohydrates. But it seems as though you're on the right track, especially if you're plant-based.
Okay, yeah, that makes sense to me because sometimes I'll have like whatever the recipes are, and then maybe a glass of the fresh juice from the vegetables, and then maybe some steel oats. And then from dinner, we'll do the beans, the rice, those kinds of things.
Yes. There's a healthy plate concept that is in use right now, which gives us an indication of what our plate should look like in terms of content and portions. You know, what should be there and in what portions. That's you know, you can Google it. That'll be something that can be a very good guide for you in terms of having that balance in your diet. But it seems as though you
Okay,
guys
thank
are
you.
sorry, I'm sorry.
Thank you for that information.
You're welcome. Steel cut oats. It seems as though you guys are into steel cut oats, which is very good, you know. And incidentally, I was reading, they said if you're going to eat oats, that's the one of the best oats to use. That and rolled oats actually is what's I see Steve giving a thumbs up, is what's recommended. Don't worry with the instant oats. Don't worry with the flavored stuff. No, 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 no. Steel cut and rolled oats. And studies have shown that oats really reduce the absorption of fats, you know, or triglycerides and or bad cholesterol, LDL, and lowers heart disease risk. So you guys are on the right track.
In relation to that, Marcel, what is the difference between juicing, where the pulp is taken out, and making it a smoothie, where the whole plant is left in and you drink it?
Basically, when you juice, one important ingredient you may lose is fiber.
Yeah.
And the benefits of fiber are astounding in terms of colon health, keeping our colon nice and flushed, in terms of removing fats, cholesterol, especially LDL cholesterol, in terms of keeping our blood glucose levels regulated, fiber, you know. So when you juice, it's good, you know, but make sure you also take the time to enjoy the whole fruits so that you can get the benefits of fiber. Helps to sweep our colon, all those toxins out, you know. Gives you a nice motion, you know. And I learned this one, you know, when you leave the bath, when you get up from the toilet now, you need to look back and you should aim for a nice S. You know, they say an S indicates everything is all right. C's are fine, but S's are what you should aim for.
I've never heard that before. I've never heard that before. That is good to know. Yeah, that's good to know.
Yes,
Yeah,
you
thank
put
you.
those fruits and vegetables in, and the S's are going to start coming, you know. Yeah. I was going to share something personal, but I said, oh, no, that's not appropriate.
I'll text
Yes,
you.
fiber is also good for reducing cancer risk as well. So fiber, very, very important.
Very important.
Sorry,
Thank you.
somebody was saying something?
Yeah, Dane, I think, had a question too.
No, you put me on the spot, Tom.
Oh, I'm sorry. I saw that looked like you were
That's all
trying
right.
to keep up. Okay. Sorry about that.
That's okay. I'm gleaning a lot from this, though. This is good stuff, Marcelle.
Oh, thank you. Thank you for being here. I really appreciate you being here.
Yeah. Are there any other questions for Marcelle? Well, come on, because I've got
I just wanted to say, this is Catherine. I just wanted to, first of all, thank you, Marcelle, for covering that important topic of metabolic syndrome. It is just not, you don't hear it discussed enough, if any, and it was so thorough. So I really appreciate that. And I just wanted to just say that it was really informative and helped me mentally a lot, because I needed to hear all of that. A lot of it I knew already, but the way it was presented just was like a gut punch, and I needed that too. So thank you.
You're welcome. Yes. Get those tests, know your numbers, and do something about it. Yeah.
That's right.
Hi, Marcel.
Hello.
It's Odette here, listening.
Yeah.
You know, being hypertensive and listening, at one point I said, wow, but then at the end I realized that all is not lost. There is still hope. It's not the end. I can make changes that would affect in terms of a positive way. So like listening to you now, all I have to do now is to internalize this information, and you know what? Do something about it. It's one thing sometimes to listen and to digest all of this information and do nothing with it. But it's telling me that if I want this change, well, then I've got to do something about it. So I just want to say thank you. And it was good. It was good.
Thank you. And you know, when it comes to making changes, I mentioned something that it's not a matter of will. Sometimes we think we can will ourselves to change, but behavior change, there are certain principles you can follow to help you make behavior change and to maintain your behavior. So it's not a matter of will, but it's a matter of skill. And there's certain tools you can use to help you to make those changes. And maybe at some other time, you know, if I'm invited to come again, that's something I think I need to mention, because the whole aim is to get people to make those behavioral changes. It's not easy, but there are tools we can use to help us. Like, for example, if you like to eat sweets, and sweets are detrimental, you know, to our health, there are certain tools that you can employ to change your mindset about sweets and make it easier for you to stop consuming as many sweets, rather than trying to fight in terms of using your willpower. You will fail eventually. But when you have those tools and you have the skills, it helps you to make those behavioral changes a little easier.
Well, Marcel, I can tell you, I'm looking forward to you coming back and showing us, sharing with us those motivational skills to employ our will, to exercise those skills.
Right.
In the past, I know that I've asked this question of other presenters. It's one thing to have all the information. It's another thing to internalize the information and to make it practical for you, because
Right.
there's a lot of us know what to do. We have the information, but it's the implementation and the sticking with it, or even you can even start and you
Yeah.
start for a while and then you fall
Mhm.
off. So
Yeah.
yeah, I'd be very, very interested in the skills.
Yeah.
And I know that everything is trusting God, everything, we're going to fail by ourselves, but still there are skills. And I'm looking forward to hearing that at some time in the very near future. Anyway, thanks again.
I
Yeah.
agree
Lisa,
with you,
or something there?
Sandranita, that implementation and sticking with it.
Yeah.
Like you said, some of us know what to do, but sticking with the plan
Yeah.
and a lot of times doing the will and the will just fails
Yeah.
and you get frustrated. So I definitely know what that's like.
Yeah. Yeah. I understand, trust me. I understand. Actually, it was one of the classes I did, behavioral health change. And it was such an eye-opening experience for me, in terms of how we can help people to make those changes. And we had to use some of those same tools ourselves and, do reporting. And it's amazing. I really, and one of my projects is, let me share, the project I focused on mainly was overcoming eating of sweets. And now I hardly eat sweets, because I was able to use those tools that I learned, in terms of helping me to stop eating as many sweets. So
Praise God. Praise God. Mhm.
it's
Amen.
tools, yeah.
How long does it take to change our taste buds?
Oh boy, what must I say? Some people say if you look at the story of Daniel and his friends, um, they say seven times you repeat a behavior, it becomes easier. I really don't know, honestly. Maybe there is a set time. Some people say five, you repeat, some say seven.
Yeah, I've heard that if we do something for 3 weeks, that we can pretty well change our taste buds.
Yeah, there are different schools of thought there, but I know doing that, and prayer helps too. Ask God to take the desire away. That helps. And using your
Sure.
tools as well. Yeah.
Well, are there any more questions? You might as well just take advantage of Marcelle while you got her.
Well, while we're thinking of questions, Marcelle, do you do consultations or not?
I wouldn't say I do. I don't think I'm at the consultant level.
Okay.
But I love doing these presentations. I really enjoy them. It reinforces what I learn, what I try to practice, what I know, and I love to share on health. So I would love to share it, but
We'll get
I
you back.
don't think I can be called a consultant.
But we're gonna have you back, Marcelle. And like everyone has said, it's been very, very good. And it was so basic, simple that you can't miss it. And all we all have to do is start applying it and get our own measuring tape and, and we can work it out.
Yes, yes.
There is another thing I'd like to mention, because there's some folks here that we sure appreciate that are being here, but we don't have any contact information for you. If you would like us to send us an email, that we can send you a notice of our programs and actually send you a calendar, of our twice monthly program, please text Tom and Derek on your chat if you don't want anybody else to see your email, and give us your email and we will send you notices of our programs. So,
Just Tom and Derek.
well, no, Tom and Derek, in other words, they're looking on their chat.
Okay.
And if you don't want everybody to see your email, then pick Tom and Derek specifically and give us your email. We will keep it to ourselves, but we will let you know. We will send you the notice each month.
Very good presentation, Marcelle.
Oh, thank you, Kwame.
It's way past my bedtime, but I just wanted to let you know that I enjoyed the presentation.
Thank you. I'm happy you did. And I'm happy you could be here. Go get your beauty sleep.
You must not be on the West Coast?
East Coast. Yeah, she's on.
Yeah, okay. I'm
Oh,
giving
yeah.
her a hard time.
Well, are there any more questions? If not, we're going to say goodbye to Marcelle so she can get her beauty rest. And Marcelle, we will have you back. We thank God for you. And to all of you that are on, you know, there are no accidents in God. God put you on to hear this. Whoever you are, wherever you are, God wants you to take care of yourself. He's working for you and with you to do that. And these presentations is to inform you how to do it, what to do, what are you doing, what are you not doing. So now that you got this tonight, use it for your benefit. If you don't use it, you know you're going to lose it. You know, so just take advantage of just taking a little walk around the corner. Start off like that, you know, something that you could do, but just make sure you're doing something. You got to know that God is in your favor. God wants you to be healthy. Your body is his temple. So you know he wants you to be healthy and he wants you to be strong. So do what you can and do the right thing. And that's all we could do.
Marcelle, please remember to give Brian our love and Happy New Year. And man, I tell you, you've got a good thing going there. A beautiful, beautiful presentation. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Wonderful.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Are there any other questions? If not.
Yeah, if not, we can ask Chaplain Sandranita Hall to come in and close us out in prayer. Would you do that, Miss Hall?
I will. And typically, I like to ask if anyone has anything specific that they'd like us to pray about. I'm not going to pray long, but if you have anything specific that is on your heart that we can mention, if
I
not.
I do, Sandranita. Actually, with this presentation, it's just a daily reminder for me about what my struggles are. So prayer to just overcome and to be able to implement and stick with it.
Amen. Okay. Thank you, Catherine. All right. All right, then we'll pray. Loving Father, thank you so much for the privilege of prayer again. Thank you for every soul that's represented on this call this evening over Zoom. I thank you, Father, for the fact that you've known every person here before they were substance in their mother's womb, and that you love us. I pray, dear Father, that this presentation that was presented so masterfully by Marcelle this evening would be as seed in good soil in us, that we would indeed be motivated to make a change. We can't do it without you, Lord. Even though many of us have tried, including myself, over and over again, and typically fail miserably. But Lord, I just feel that as Derek has pointed out, that it is true that our bodies are your temple, and that you are in our favor, that you want us to thrive, You want us to be healthy, and you want us to be in good health. So, Father, I pray that you would recalibrate our thinking, augment our taste buds, give us the willingness to get that tape measure and to do something about it. Give us the willingness, the want tos to do something to make a change. Please bless Marcelle and her husband and her ministry, Lord. Thank you for what you've done. Thank you for what you're doing. Thank you for what you're going to do for all of us, for your glory and for Christ's sake. Amen.
Amen. Amen.
We would
Good night,
like to,
everyone.
Good
Okay.
evening, everyone.
Before-
Have a good day. Sorry.
go ahead.
No, Tom, you go right
Okay.
ahead. I'm sorry.
I was just going to say, everybody, before you leave, in 2 weeks, we will have Leilani Shamdaleh here speaking. She is a medical missionary. So please join us again, same time, same station, same link and same phone number. That'll be in 2 weeks from tonight. That would make it the 21st, wouldn't it?
Yeah.
So we invite everyone to come. We will be sending out the information. If you want the information about the speaker, please again, send me your email and we will send you that, or put your email on a chat to Tom and Derek private, and then we will send you the information. Anyhow, thank you again, Marcelle.
You're welcome. Thank you. My pleasure.
We are going to have you back again. We will be setting the schedule very soon for April, May, June, and on probably for another 6 months. So we will be putting that together real shortly. So
Yep.
Marcelle, we will be in touch to get you scheduled.
Okay, thanks again for the opportunity and good night, everyone. God bless
Good
you.
night. Good night.
And we thank everyone for being on tonight. Thank you. God bless.
May God bless you. Good night.
Thank
bless.
you.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you,
Good night,
Dan.
everybody.
I'm glad Dan was on.
And glad you came.
Yes, Kevin. Is that Kevin too? Yeah.
Yeah, Kevin made it.
Didn't I hear? Thank you, Bernard, for being on.
Okay, we're going to end it. All right, folks. See you soon. Good night.